Hello everyone, welcome to my How to Fix Cybersecurity. I'm mainly going to be talking about within a company, not cybersecurity in general because that'd take a long time. So basically, let's get into it. What we're going to talk about today is the problem that these companies face with it when it comes to cybersecurity. We're going to talk about some of the solutions that are implemented today. Then I'm going to jump into my proposition of what I think will work better. I'm going to explain how that works and what that is, and then I'm going to talk about how feasible it is, and finally I'm going to give a call to action to these companies that I think will work better if they implement my solution. So jumping right into it, what is the problem? That's a good question. I think the two main issues are ransomware and lack of awareness. Now, what is ransomware? Ransomware is any malicious software used to prevent access to any sort of system or information. And it's usually hackers that cause this because they want to make money. That's what hackers do. They would do whatever they can to make money. And it really impacts just about everybody. For instance, if this company has a certain strategy on how to sell their product better, a hacker might try to attack it and get that information to sell to a competitor, and it can really cause issues within a company because that hacker can say, if you don't pay me $10 million in 24 hours, then I will release this information to the public. Your competitors will get a hold of it, and then basically you'll lose money. And it really causes conflict with the company because they have to decide whether to let their competitors get this information or pay a big chunk of money to keep it. And so it's just an all around bad thing. James Scott, who works for the Institute of Critical Infrastructure Technology in Washington, D.C., said that ransomware is more about manipulating vulnerabilities in human psychology than the adversary's technological sophistication. What that basically means is it's more about tricking humans into doing what they want instead of how tech savvy someone is. If we look at the chart on the right of the screen, it says global ransomware damage cost. In 2015, it was about $325 million. In 2021, which is when this chart came out, it was about $20 billion. If you jump to 2031, it is estimated to be about $265 billion. That is a lot of money. And on the very right of this chart, it says ransomware is expected to attack a business, a consumer, or a device every 2 seconds by 2031, which is up from every 11 seconds in 2021. So you can guess about this year in 2024 that it will take about 7 to 9 seconds before somebody can get attacked by ransomware. So moving on, what is the lack of user awareness? What is that? So users are basically anybody in the company that owns a piece of technology. Um, and so the lack of awareness comes when they don't know what the um, risk is when it comes to being attacked. They don't really understand what causes it. They don't understand how to handle it. And honestly, it can just cause a big issue because if they don't know what's going on, then they are more easily, um, likely to give in and then fall right into the trap that these attackers want. And honestly, what causes it is the company. The company does not adequately train their employees to understand what to do in these situations. And it can really affect everybody. And it's a problem because it can cost the company a lot of time and money down the road. And so what are some solutions that are done today? I'm gonna go ahead and say these solutions are not bad at all, but I think they can be improved upon. The first one is certifications. Certifications are basically when somebody, does an online course or reads a lot of books and then finally takes a test at the end of it. And if they pass, they get certified in that area. That's very good. But the bad thing about it is it's usually secluded to the IT people, the cybersecurity professionals trying to further their job title, trying to get promoted. And it's very good for that. It's very good for just personal education, but it's not really open for everybody because why would somebody in, accounting do a cybersecurity certification? They just don't really need it. And so that's why certifications they're a very good thing to obtain, but they're just not practical for everybody. Individual online training, that's more for everybody, but the bad thing is, again, I'm gonna use the accountant example. An accountant is not going to try to go out of their way to learn more about anything dealing with IT because their job is accountant. The third thing is basic and broad video tutorials. Now, I'm sure everybody's kind of dealt with this. There's those 3 minute or 5 minute videos talking about, what to look for in an email and how not to click on a link or something, but they're very broad. They don't really get in depth about the issue. They don't really talk about what is impacted if they do click on a link, or for example, and it's just not very good. It's not very in depth, and that's just an issue because people really don't care about it. They just do it to check off a box, and it needs to change. So, what is my proposition? What do I propose? What is my solution? My solution, it can come in two different sections. One, I think there needs to be a more in-depth training, and two, I think there needs to be a change of atmosphere. Just change the whole idea of training, change where it's held, change who it involves, and just change everything about it. Now, how would this work? So first, the IT department needs to just really dig deep, browse the internet, read books, do whatever they can to choose the right training for their company. They need to figure out how many people are in their company, how much it'll cost. They need to figure out what their company does and what training will work best. Once that happens, they move up to the higher ups, to the CFO, to the CEO, and then they propose it. They get it approved, they get it fit within the budget, they do whatever they can so they can move forward. And once that happens, they have a meeting with all the department heads and figure out when this will happen, how often, and where it'll happen, and then everybody will get a chance to participate. Now, the big thing is you need to create a better atmosphere about training. Training usually has a negative connotation because people do not want to do it. They do it just because their company tells them to. A lot of times it ain't even mandatory, it's optional, and people just have a bad view on training because it's most of the time it's boring and they don't think they need it. And so the change needs to come in the idea of about the need for training. Users need to be made aware that they need training because if they don't get it, then it's more likely that they'll get attacked and they'll fall right into the trap. And the way you do this, the way you change the idea and create a better atmosphere, is you got to make it interesting. Make it more of an informal setting, not necessarily like a party, but you can have like food and drinks and just make it more interesting, more relaxed and laid back. Make it like a Friday afternoon or something, and just really sit these people down in the company and train them on ransomware, how to handle it, phishing, how to handle it, and all these different types of malware, and so they can know what to do when they're faced with that issue. And I think if you make it interesting, then they'll be more likely to absorb that knowledge and then not forget it like they would if they're watching the 5-minute video on emails. That's it's not very fun to do that. So you got to make it more interesting, make it fun, make it not boring. Don't let them dread it, and then I think it'll work a lot better. Now, how feasible is this? Honestly, right now it'll cost some time and money. It is estimated that it'll cost between 5 cents and 50 cents for every person monthly for training, for good training. This is, obviously depending on the company size, but I think it'll save a lot down the road. It'll save you a lot more time, a lot more money, and it'll save your reputation later. This is because if you wait and and don't do training, then you'll end up spending more time and money trying to, stop or trying to fix an attack that's already happened than you would if you go ahead and train these users and get better security. Then to, kind of cut out these future costs. And the money will come mainly from the IT budget. Um, that's usually where this, section is. Or it can come from like an employee wellness budget. But overall, it needs to come from some sort of security or computer budget. And obviously, it's going to take some time. It may be a day, it may be a few hours, but that's honestly up to the employers, the higher ups, the department heads. But honestly, it's very feasible. It doesn't cost that much and it'll save a lot more down the road. And I think companies really need to take action. They do not need to wait. Like I said, if you spend the time and money now, you'll end up saving a lot more time, a lot more money, and you won't damage your reputation. If you get attacked, it's going to damage your reputation, and customers will not want to come to you, and that's obviously a really bad thing. And another good thing about doing the training is you'll go ahead and get ahead of most other companies. Most other companies are not making it mandatory. They're making it optional or it doesn't exist at all. And and it's not good. So if you do this training, if you fix the issues, you'll be ahead of the curve and you'll just have a better company overall. You'll boost morale. You'll make people want to learn more, and that's just a good thing overall. These were my references for this presentation. I hope it was informative. I hope it helped you learn a little bit. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.